Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. I have been researching, watching videos, reading books, looking up Wikipedia document, looking at pictures, and oh my, have I discovered a few more things. Trying to figure out WTH, what the heck is going on in our reality. I got this book in the mail not too long ago. A lot of books I was looking at and videos recommended this book. Big thick book, as you can see, several fingers. Hidden History, The Secret Origins of the First World War. Gerry Docherty and Jim Macgregor. So I've been reading it, and as I was reading the opening, the preface, I said, that's all I have to read. That would make a great video. Then I read chapter 1. I said, oh my, this is what I need to read from for the video. So I'm going to get right to it on this video and bypass my usual opening, usually taking up about a half hour. So let me just read from the cover of this book. Hidden History uniquely exposes those responsible for the First World War. Did you ever want to know that? Who did you think was responsible? And if they were responsible for World War I suspect they were responsible for World War II. And if they are vying for a global world order, and they involve the Illuminati, the banksters, the Rothschilds, the Zionist Jewish people, I suspect they did 9/11 too. Which means, if we're going to have World War III, or a world revolution, or a global world order, microchipping the people, enslaving the people, depopulating the planet, it would be the same people. Keep that in mind as I read this stuff. Unbelievable information. It reveals how accounts of the war's origins have been deliberately falsified to conceal the guilt of the secret cabal of very rich and powerful men in London, responsible for one of the most heinous crimes perpetrated on humanity. For 10 years, they plotted the destruction of Germany as the first stage of their plan to take control of the world. Take control of the world. Global world order. They planned 10 years in advance to have World War I and Germany destroyed. Why? The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was no chance happening. It lit a fuse that had been carefully set through a chain of command stretching from the Sarajevo through Belgrade and St. Petersburg to that cabal in London. So the Duke Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated. Austria is just south of Germany, north of Yugoslavia, Serbia, the Balkans. That's why we heard about Bosnia and all those countries in the news, even when Bill Clinton was president, all the murder and mayhem going on over there. Maybe we're going to find out what it's all about. Does it have anything to do with World War I, World War II, French Revolution, British Revolution, wars in South Africa, Russian Revolution, and to the point where we are today, where President Donald Trump recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a long-sought goal of the Freemasons and the Jewish people to regain their ancient kingdom of Judea. So they needed the Palestinian land, but it was controlled by the Ottoman Empire, i.e., located in the Balkans, south of Austria. In the Balkans, now known as Turkey, controlled all of the Middle East except for Russia and Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Iran. Iran was independently ruled back then. So Iran's been around a long time. That probably explains why they have to take out Iran now. Remember, they took out Germany. They took out a lot of other countries. And since 9/11, a lot of countries all through the Middle East. All the dots are connecting for me in my mind. Our understanding of these events has been firmly trapped in a web of falsehood and duplicity carefully construed by the victors at Versailles, which is located just north of Paris, where they had the hearings after World War I, blaming Germany for everything. When here you're going to find out that was not true. In 1919 and maintained by compliant historians ever since. So you got a bunch of historians of the winners of World War I who wrote history in favor of them, not telling the truth. But this book, which I suggest people get if you really want to learn what went on, and if you learn what went on, you can probably figure out what's going on and what's going to happen in the future. It's all in here. The official version is fatally flawed, warped by a volume of evidence that was destroyed or concealed from the public view. Well, who would have ever thought that? Hidden history poses a tantalizing challenge. The author asks only that you examine the evidence, then lay before you. Sometimes I get off to a shaky start on my reading. Bear with me, it'll only get worse. It's Saturday, January 5th, 2019, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Been reading this for a couple of days saying, oh my, this would be series 244 in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism. So I do have a little bit of accumulated knowledge in my mind. Out of making those 603 videos on YouTube, about 800 or 900 hours, 14 years worth of research. And it takes me that long to get to this book. That's crazy. Makes you wonder, how things work out. Gerry Docherty is a former head teacher and author of several historical plays. His most recent Lie of the Land told the story of two cousins from the same small village in Scotland who won the Victorian Cross at the Battle of Lewes in 1915. And Jim Macgregor is a former GP. He was raised in a cottage in the grounds of Erskine Hospital for the war disabled, and as a result developed a lifelong interest in the origins of war. So that's why I do these book reviews. When I started my research with the big question, WTH, what the heck's going on after 9/11, and the obvious economic disruption all over the world, people losing their homes in Argentina, Canada, New York, California, Florida, everywhere. Overseas, there was economic turmoil. And since then, I've learned that the Great Depression after World War I and before World War II was going on all over the world. And the Illuminati banking families, the people who were behind World War I, World War II, 9/11, and all the other disasters on the planet, can shut off the valve of money and cause a great worldwide depression, suffering, destruction, anytime they want to. And they did between World War I and World War II. They had goals. The goals they did before World War I during the 1800s, numerous wars and revolution, all done by the people mentioned in this book. So I'm going to bypass the prologue or the introduction because chapter 1 was just too interesting. You can see I read all this. If you want to pause your computer and read this page, please do. And the index, if you want to pause your computer. That was chapter 21 to 27. The Secret Society, South Africa. I told you, this goes all over the world. The Edward Conspiracy, Testing Warmer Waters, Taming the Bear, The Changing of the Guard, Landslide to Continuity, 1906. Alexander Ivolsky, Hero and Villain, Scams and Scandals, Creating the Fear, they do that now, Preparing the Empire, Catch a Rising Star and Put It in Your Pocket, Moroccan Myths, Churchill and Haldane. I learned some things about Churchill in this chapter 1. Oh my, this guy goes back before World War I. His father involved in conquering South Africa. And it was all about obtaining control of countries all over the world back then in the 1700s to bring about a global world order. Do you believe that? Is that crazy? Robert's Academy, Poincare, the man who would be brought, America, a very special relationship in this book, Hidden History. The Balkan pressure cooker, so the land above the Middle East, Serbia, Yugoslavia, part of Greece, all those countries, just the west of Russia, east of Europe, south of Austria and Germany and Bulgaria, the Balkans, and all that slaughtering going on there. Who wanted to control it? But the Balkans was controlled by Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, and the Zionist Jews wanted into the Middle East, Jerusalem, Palestine, to create the state of Israel. So this plan has been around for 300 years. And they made deals with leaders like the leaders in Britain. Maybe they made deals with the leaders of the Vatican. Prior to that, the Vatican had numerous good popes. These people with their money bought politicians in America, all over the world, South Africa. From Balmora to the Balkans. So there's a lot here I learned that I didn't know. Deception, manipulation, and misrepresentation. 1914. Who would have thunk that? Leading Europe towards the brink. The first mobilizations. Buying time. The charade of mediation. 1914. The charade of mediation. So they didn't want to make a peace with Germany. Germany didn't want a war in World War I. The speech that cost 1 million dead. Lies, myths, and stolen history. The secret elites, hidden control and connections. From 1891 to 1914. So the bottom line is, after 9/11, the Middle East never stood a chance. Even in Iraq, where they had shock and awe and just incinerated all those Iraqi troops, all those other countries didn't stand a chance against the might of the military, NATO, of the United States, Britain, and France, and Italy, and Germany, and all the countries that are controlled by puppets, controlled presidents and prime ministers and leaders. The Middle East didn't stand a chance after 9/11. Yes? No? And it seems to me, reading this, Germany, Austria, never stood a chance because of its sphere of influence. Was the countries around it wanted to be pro-German, and they wanted to have a German trade agreement, a German coalition, a United States of Germany. So Germany was demonized and had to be destroyed. Interestingly enough, Portugal had claims in Asia. Britain controlled India. Spain had acquisitions. France had controlled areas of Asia. So all those European countries had controls in Asia. Japan wanted to create a local sphere of influence because all these other countries were using and abusing the citizens. So Japan had to be destroyed like Germany. Interestingly enough, South Africa. Gold was discovered, and France had influences down there. Holland had influences down there. Britain had influences down there. But once they discovered gold, there were 3 or 4 countries in South Africa that were populated by white people because of the Indian Tea Company and other trade from Europe and the east coast of the continent that sailed around South Africa to get to China and India, etc. A lot of white people got off the ships and settled there, just like they did in the United States. Did you know that? Once they discovered gold, all of a sudden South Africa became a hot potato. And of course, a lot of the people employed, even the Africans and the white people, were treated harshly like slaves. And the elite, like Cecil Rhodes and all kinds of lords and leaders from Britain, wanted all the gold and the diamonds. So if all this really happened, and we know about the War of Independence in United States of America and the Civil War, which apparently these people were involved, even General Ulysses Grant during the war between the North and the South in the 1860s, not that long ago, banned all the Jews from the Tennessee territories, which included Louisiana and Kentucky. They weren't states then. Did you know that? And the same thing went on in Central America and South America and all kinds of North Africa and all over the world. These elitists were planning and scheming and getting all the resources and slaughtering many, many people many, many times. So I'm going to skip the introduction. I showed you the contents. I'm going to go straight to chapter 1. Because this material was just too much to believe. Chapter 1 is the secret society. One wintry afternoon in February 1891, 3 men were engaged in earnest conversation in London. From that conversation were to flow consequences of the greatest importance to the British Empire and to the world as a whole. The opening passage of Professor Carroll Quigley's book, The Anglo-American Establishment, may read like a John le Carré thriller, but this is no spy fiction. The 3 staunch British imperialists who met that day, Cecil Rhodes, William Stead, and Lord Esher, drew up a plan for the organization of a secret society that would take control of the foreign policy, both in Britain and later by extension, the United States of America, a secret society that aimed to renew the Anglo-Saxon bond between Great Britain and the United States. 1891, 9 years before 1900, And then in 1913, 13 years later, was the beginnings of World War I and taking control of the USA money supply by making a deal with President Woodrow Wilson to create the privately owned and controlled Federal Reserve. And for 50 years prior to that, they did not control the United States money supply, and 2 US presidents were assassinated in their attempts to do so. So this is nothing new here that's going on, that went on, and that's going to go on. Remember, during the Great Depression, they controlled the banking systems of countries all over the world. It was between World War I and World War II, and all they had to do is withdraw monies from all those countries, and they went into economic suffering, collapse, disaster. They can do it whenever they want to. I can't say that enough. Does that give you a clue about what's happening right now? January 5th, 2019. If it happens tomorrow, you know who did it and why after I read this material. So they had plans back then in 1891 to retake control of America. So they spread all they considered good in the English ruling class traditions. That's what they wanted to do. Spread all that they considered good in the English ruling class traditions and expand the British Empire's influence in a world they believed that they were destined to control. And where have we heard that before? The Jews who believe they are God's chosen people, and they're supposed to take control of the entire world. And apparently they were working in cahoots with the British elite, as you will see when I read on. So I noticed some of these common denominators on these elites and secret societies and Zionist Jewish people's thinking, not to be confused with a lot of Jews who are anti-Zionist, like Benjamin Friedman and Rabbi Marvin Enthelman and author Henry Mackay in Canada, Jewish people who wrote books and are famous people who were trying to tell all, along with many other Jewish people. If you go on Yahoo image site and look up Zionism, you'll see all the Jewish people with their beards and black outfits and protest signs and all of that. So who are these people? Into some kind of Kabbalah, secret society, synagogue of Satan, religion, mystery, a whore of Babylon? It all connects. And I've been finding that repeatedly. It was the heyday of both Jack the Ripper and Queen Victoria. The latter having confronted her anti-Semitic prejudices. So the Jews found favor with the royal elite because the royal elite were short of money. They were in a desperate situation. So who do you think came calling with truckloads or cartloads of gold or whatever, however they did it back then? The Illuminati Jewish banksters who created the Illuminati in 1776, ironically the same year that the United States declared independence from Britain. Began a personal friendship with a member of the Rothschilds banking dynasty. So Queen Victoria confronted her anti-Semitic prejudices, according to this book, page 17, and began a personal friendship with a member of the Rothschilds banking dynasty. It didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out that and why, which played such an important role in what was to follow. So apparently, even like the Vatican or the royalty in Britain, and I'm sure many other countries all over the world, the elite misused the money, and a lot of them were quite extravagant and into womanizing, even pedophilia and gambling and whatever. And the countries, the leaders would go broke, so they had to sell their souls to get money. And that's how these elitist Illuminati type Rothschilds, Rockefeller, Schiffs, Morgans, people who financed the creation of Israel and made agreements in World War I, the Balfour Agreement, and World War II to support these countries in war. Uh, it was all a huge plan. And they bought all off the leaders, the prime ministers, the kings and the queens and the presidents and countries with all their money that was misused and misspent at the citizens' expense. And of course, whenever they created the wars, they sent their citizens on both sides. The Christian Germans battling the Christian Britons, slaughtering each other with the people who were in control, planning a global world order, who are not Christian, who hate Christians. Such a story. So the Rothschild banking industry is literally in bed with the Queen Victoria, playing such an important role in what was to follow. The formerly allegedly murdered Mary Kelly, his fifth and possible final victim, in London's fog-bound Whitechapel. That would have been Jack the Ripper. There were slums. So these two unrelated events capture the extremities of life in that era of privilege and poverty. So they want to bring back privilege and poverty, like the Hunger Games movie. Sumptuous excesses for the few, penniless vulnerability for the many. Despite appalling social conditions, Victoria, England sat confidently at the pinnacle of international power, steeped as it was in the magnificence of the British Empire. But could it stay there forever? So I was looking up some things about the British Empire, and I looked up something called the Boer War in South Africa. Fascinating material. The dates are important here. So during this period of time when these people were getting together, 1891, and British had an empire, let me just show you a picture. You have to really put your thinking cap on and expand your mind when you're looking into this stuff. But back then, this was the British Empire. Notice red is Canada. A lot of countries in Africa, South Africa, Northeast Africa, portion there of South America, India completely, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, it looks like. The extent of the British Empire in 1898 prior to the outbreak of the Second Boer War. So Britain really did have an empire, as you can see. Canada, Africa, India, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, and they had lost control of the United States and they wanted to regain control. So I did look up all this stuff, and some of the names I'm going to mention reading this material is in here. This is 35 pages on Wikipedia. I highly recommend anybody wants to read some very interesting material. Go look up the Boer War. As you can see, I was just fascinated by what I learned here. So when I'm reading from this book and I mention some of this material, please understand where I got it. I went on Yahoo image site and looked up the Boer Wars. So if you pay attention to the date, just prior to 1900, so they were busy with a 500,000 soldiers from all the territories they controlled, from India, Australia, and Britain, and all those other countries in Africa. It shipped almost 500,000 troops down there to battle the 4 countries in South Africa to annex them because there were some countries that wanted independence, and really Britain didn't care for a while. But when gold was discovered and diamonds were discovered, it became a source of obtaining vast fortunes of money. And the Illuminati, of course, financed the money and had the secret societies that was into the mystery religion and supporting the idea of a Zionist Middle East plans for the rebuilding of King Solomon's temple. And I have all that in this information. So you can find these results, the Boer Wars, on Yahoo image site. And check the dates and read the stories. My real point is, all this was happening just before World War I. They had to finish those wars in South Africa. Then they had another problem at the same time. They couldn't get the Middle East because Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, controlled all the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire, you can go look this up. I think I got it off of Wikipedia. You can see Italy there. You can see Austria, Hungary, that would have been just south of Germany. You can see why they had to destroy Germany. Germany was neighbors to these countries and would not let Britain, the Rothschilds, destroy them so that they could get the Middle East here. See where Iran is? And in the center of this video is Jerusalem. So the Ottoman Empire needed to be destroyed prior to 1900. This was 1905, this picture. So this is why you see all the death and destruction going on in Bosnia, Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, and the demonization of Germany, Austria, Hungary, and there's Russia. So back then, Austria and Hungary wanted to join Germany and have a area of influence of their own instead of being controlled by outsiders. So Britain and the Illuminati, the banksters that controlled the banking systems all over the world, even in America, and so the Jewish Zionist behind the scenes influences needed to take control of the Middle East, but the Ottoman Empire was in their way, and that was bordering Germany, who would protect them, and the Austria and these other countries around Germany wanted to join Germany in the United States of Germany type of thing, Hungary and everything, because they all spoke German. But Britain or Russia or France, nobody wanted a more powerful Germany. Not that the Germans were doing anything evil. Matter of fact, the Emperor Frederick the Great had supervised over the longest period of peace at the time, just like Iran now. Iran has been not starting any wars, but Iran back then, as you can see in this picture, was independently ruled. And apparently it will probably interfere with Israel and the global world order. So like Germany, like South Africa, like the United States, Iran needs to be taken control of, and their independent banking system needs to be taken over so that these globalist forces can have their global world order. And remember, prior to World War I, on Christmas holiday, December 21st, winter solstice, a witchcraft holiday, they did manage to take control of the USA money supply with their puppet installed president Woodrow Wilson, who ran for the presidency on the platform that he would not take America into a foreign war. Meanwhile, he was planning for it all along. It's in these books I've been going over. Unbelievable information if you just look into it. Well, before I read on with this book and talk about the players, the royalty in Britain, and the Rothschilds, Illuminati, Zionist Jewish people, you have to understand one of the religious components of this whole thing about fulfilling biblical prophecy. So I did look into this, and there are plenty of videos to look at that they want to rebuild King Solomon's temple, which is the religion of these secret societies and, of course, the Jewish people who created Israel today and who are overthrowing and destroying all the countries all over the Middle East. With the assistance of 911, they were able to speed up their program of destruction. But watch this.
The Third Temple. For centuries, the dream of the dispersed Jewish people was to return and rebuild their ancient center of worship in the place God Himself chose more than 3,000 years ago in their beloved city of Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. Now, after 2,000 years without a land or a temple, the Jewish people have returned to the land of their forefathers and to the city of Jerusalem. Today, the ancient dream for a third temple is gradually taking shape. It is a dream the rabbis believe will bring world peace and unity as the whole world journeys to Jerusalem to visit the third temple. A temple the rabbis believe will be a place of worship for all mankind.
I did look into it, and you can see all these videos you can go watch. There's plenty of evidence. This is a worldwide thing, part of the Jewish prophecy, biblical prophecy for these people, is taking control of the world with Armageddon and worldwide destruction. You can see here on the top left.
Yes, I've been here.
This.
Yes, I've been here 35 years.
This 7 candlestick menorah, that's replacing the Christian symbols during Christmas time. And you have all these people.
Prophecy update. The Bible commands Jews to visit their temple.
Timing. It won't be built early and it won't be built late. It's going to come perfectly.
Stop Israel's plot on the Temple Mount.
Israel and its capital, Jerusalem, are long gone. Yet the Jews still speak the same language.
And this is all part of the biblical narrative. We believe that this is
Place of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, called by Isaiah the house of prayer for all nations.
Hello, praise the Lord, brothers and sisters.
1,000 Jews ascended to the Temple Mount on Jerusalem Day last Wednesday. It was destroyed in 70.
However, the Bible predicts it will be a place of sacrilege as the Antichrist appears and desecrates the newly built temple, sending many of the Jewish people once more into exile. On this DVD, we should be looking at the coming temple in Jerusalem and the plans surrounding this momentous event.
So as you can see, they have plans. There's plenty of evidence. All these videos anybody can watch. I just looked up Jewish temple prophecies, as you see on the top there. Look at all these videos. Even look here with the coin with Donald Trump's head on it. And
I'm confident that the two of us, working closely together, will bring...
Well, for the end times, you need that temple right there. And this applies even the Islamic prophecies.
Some key things have to happen for the messianic figure in the Jewish.
Located on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, but were situated instead in the ancient city of David, which was...
So you can go look at these videos. I just wanted to point out, when I read from the book of Hidden History, the players mentioned that we're leading towards a global world order and destroying South Africa, the Balkans, and Germany, and Japan, bringing us World War I, World War II. These are the same people today who are installing those microwave towers everywhere, dumping chemicals from the sky, bringing us AI, artificial intelligence software, facial recognition systems, microchipping the children, and so much more. FEMA camps, coffins, guillotines, passage of Noahide laws. Oh my. You think this is enough evidence to convince anybody, these videos? I could show more videos. I do want to stick with this book, but there is one portion I want to continue to remind myself and anybody watching the video, is that we can now understand why Germany had to be destroyed in World War I. Germany as you can see, borders on Russia with Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Romania. These were all, most of them, pro-German countries. And you can see off towards where my finger is, West Germany, Italy, France, Britain, Belgium, Denmark, Spain, and Portugal. They had influences and controls of property all over the world. And Germany was growing, and all those countries around Germany in the middle of this video spoke German or were friendly to Germany. And it was a growing empire unto its own, and they would not, in the center of this video, destroy or attack Turkey, which controlled the entire Middle East. So they had to be destroyed in World War I, which was all intentional. And they needed the Middle East to rebuild King Solomon's temple. And after World War I, they gave all those countries behind the Iron Wall to the communists. And who were the communists? Those would have been the Bolshevik Jewish people, the Illuminati, the same people who wanted the land in Palestine and many other countries in the Middle East, if you look up the greater maps of Israel. So for 1800s, 1700s, 1900s, this was all a plan. So before World War I, they said Germany was going to annex or attack the countries that actually wanted to join Germany, but they couldn't convince Germany to convince Turkey to give them the Middle East. So they had to destroy Germany, and they handed all those countries off to communist Russia to prevent Christian democratic Germany from growing. How many people know this? So that was the plan. Turn all that into red communist, which they want to do to the entire world. So you can go on Yahoo image site and see these pictures and click it and get all the gory details. But the results explains everything. So when I do read from this book right now, a lot of what I showed you with the religious implications and the secret societies will make more sense. These people were busy all over the world. after America trying to regain complete control of it. But it all had to be with deception and propaganda, giving huge amounts of money to the elite and buying the newspapers, the industries, the natural resources, the train systems. And they crashed the system in the 1900s about 8 times, bankrupting most of the citizens 8 times in 100 years from 1913 and 2008, etc. And probably it'll be 9 times if they haven't already done that. But the next collapse may be the biggest one of all. Okay, back to the book. So was in the magnificence of the British Empire. So I just showed you the whole British Empire and the growing Germany at the time, which was right on north of the Balkans, which included all those countries adjacent to Turkey, including Turkey, which controlled the Middle East, which was a stumbling block for the Zionist Illuminati, Kabbalistic, Mystery Babylon religion, secret societies, the elites gaining control of the world to bring us a global world order. And one other little sidebar, I did go look on a computer today. I learned something new. This is how many microwave transmitter towers are near my house. So look up antennasearch.com and put in your zip code or address, and they'll tell you. It's unbelievable, and microwaves are dangerous to us. You think that's intentional? Dumping chemicals in the sky, blocking the sun, putting the heavy metals in the soil, aluminum, which is making the soil highly flammable and toxic and killing the trees and the plants and the fish and the water and the bugs and the bees and the animal. You think that's intentional? You think they'll do anything to get their global world order? Look at the murder and mayhem they have done for 200 years or more. All right, so when I'm reading from hidden history, it ought to make a little more sense. This was the driving question, exercising much serious debate in the cigar-smoke-filled parlors of influence. And the plan agreed between these three men was essentially an affirmation that steps had to be taken to ensure that Britain maintain its dominant position in world affairs. So Germany, Austria, Belgium, Serbia, all those countries, Romania, Turkey, the Middle East, were all free at the time. And here you have a meeting in 1891 with these elites in Britain in bed with the Rothschilds, the Illuminati. They even have a Rothschilds Boulevard in Israel. Get it? Got it? Okay, the conspirators were well-known public figures. But it should be noted that from the outset, that each was linked to infinitely greater wealth and influence. So if they were linked to infinitely greater wealth and influence, wouldn't that be the Jewish banksters who have owned all the banks, controlled all the money all over Europe and the world? Apparently, from 1850 to 1900, they killed 2 USA presidents, assassinated them, attempted assassination on a couple others. But in 1913, they actually got their president in there and did regain control of our money supply and have been sucking us dry ever since. The plan laid on the table was relatively simple. A secret society would be formed and run by a small, close-knit clique. This was 1891. Remember 1776, the Rothschilds had Adam Weishaupt create the Illuminati and instructed him to take over all the Freemasonic lodges all over the world and create a lot more. And numerous other secret societies like the Rosicrucians, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Club of Rome, and so many more. The leader was to be Cecil Rhodes, with the Rhodes Scholar, and it's a school for politicians to help take over the world. And Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. So they handpick people to go to this special school in Britain, Oxford, and then they get assigned these top positions to take control of the world. And some of them wind up being presidents. And of course, they have other organizations like the Skull and Bones, George Bush, and from these mystery organizations, secret societies that are into some nefarious activities. And their symbols are skull and bones and a lot of other evil symbols. It's actually almost getting too easy to put this stuff together. Back to this book. He and his accomplices constructed the secret organization around concentric circles with an inner core of trusted associates. So they had an inner circle with these trusted conspirators. So it's not a conspiracy theory. And then if you draw a bigger circle outside the inner circle was another layer of elites. And then draw another circle around that, wider out, you have the next level of their henchmen. And if you expand out far enough, you get down to the population and the planet, we the people. He and his accomplices constructed the secret organization around concentric circles with an inner core of trusted associates, the Society of the Elect, who unquestionably knew that they were members of an exclusive cabal devoted to taking and holding power on a worldwide scale. Did I just show those pictures? Worldwide scale, the Balkans, Germany, Austria, South Africa, the United States, Central America, South America, Africa, Asia. They controlled India. I think it was the France that controlled China. Who controlled all these countries? And who controlled all these countries' banks? A second outer circle, even larger and quite fluid in its membership, was to be called the Association of Helpers. At this level, the involvement members may or may not have been aware that they were either an integral part or inadvertently being used by the secret society. So I'm sure a lot of these people that they put in office who are bought and paid for and will vote the way they're told, like in the United States, a lot of them don't know what's really planned. If they did, they would probably revolt also. Military leaders, if they knew what was really planned, and then after they do take control of the world, even these people who were helping these conspirators to take over the world, they will be eliminated, according to the documents I've already read numerous times. Many on the outer edges of the group, idealist, honest politicians, I'll add in there progressives and liberals and New Agers, they don't even know they're being sucked into this thing. May never have known that the real decisions were made by ruthless cliques about whom they had no knowledge. So who do you think spends all the money to have all those New Age and liberal and progressive books, TV shows, commercials, pride parades, the signs, all that stuff? It's propaganda. It's social conditioning. Like I said, a lot of people don't even know they're being sucked into this. Regrettably, Professor Quigley revealed that the organizations were able to conceal its existence quite successfully, and many of its influential members satisfied to possess the reality of power rather than the appearance of power. So they didn't want to appear like they were in control. They didn't want us all to see it. So they weren't unhappy about not having the appearance. They didn't mind putting puppets in charge, like President Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, President Donald Trump likely. But they were satisfied with the reality of power, the banking systems, and the money, and assassins for people who got in the way, President John Kennedy, and so many others. And just think about these advanced technologies they're installing with all those microwave towers, artificial intelligence software programs, cashless society. That's why they put that little chip on your debit card, credit card, and your smartphone. Your TV's watching you. Your smart meters can start burning your house. Did you see those videos? They had these houses that burned and they checked out the smart meters, and that's where the fire started. Yes, there's a plan. Regrettably, are unknown even to those close students of British history. So the real people that are controlling the world are unknown even to close students of British history. Secrecy was the cornerstone. No one outside the favored few knew of the society's existence. Members understood that the reality of power was much more important and effective than the appearance of power. So you couldn't see that they controlled things, and they were happy with that. They were more powerful if they were behind the scenes. They controlled presidents. When they put somebody in presidential office in any country, those people behave and do as they're told. Make no mistake about that. There is a plan, there are elites, and there is enforcement. Because they belonged to a privileged class, they knew how decisions were made and how governments were controlled and policy financed. They have been referred to obliquely in speeches and books as the money power, and I've got plenty of these books, and I made many videos on many of these books in my series. This is 244. I think it's going to be video 603. As the money power, the hidden power, and the men behind the curtain. All of these labels are pertinent, but we call them collectively the secret elite. So the meeting in February 1891 was not some chance encounter. Rhodes had been planning such a move for years, while Stead and Esser had been party to his ideas for some time. A year earlier, on 15 February 1890, Rhodes journeyed from South Africa. That's why I mentioned South Africa here. The gold mines, diamond mines, all that wealth. Cecil Rhodes, journeyed from South Africa to Lord Rothschild's, the Illuminati Bank, Rothschild's Boulevard in Israel. The people who negotiated during World War I and World War II to get the Palestinian people's land so they can rebuild King Solomon's temple, which is an anti-Christian religion they have, passing Noahide laws in secret in the United States, which calls for the beheading of heretics. Heretics are people who believe in a false Messiah. So if they say that, exclaim or make a public announcement or pass a law that Jesus was not really a Messiah, believing in him will be a crime, punishable by beheading. And apparently, if you look it up on the internet, somebody purchased 30,000 guillotines. We got FEMA camps, coffins, microwave transmitter towers, legislation, Patriot Act, facial recognition systems. That's crazy. You can lose your mind in this. So anyway, Cecil Rhodes comes up from South Africa to meet with Lord Rothschild's country estate to present his plan. So this is the Illuminati connection, who were created in 1776, and this meeting is in 1890. That's a little over 100 years later, after the Illuminati were taking over the Freemasonic lodges all over the world and the banking systems. And I believe prior to 1815, the elites did control the American banking system, but their charter was revoked by a certain USA president. I think Abraham Lincoln might have been assassinated for that very reason. He made an announcement that the United States was going to print its own money, And that would have been around 1861 or 1862. So when I said we controlled our own money for almost 50 years, it might have been since that period. Then, of course, they put Woodrow Wilson in charge, and they regained control of America's checkbook. What if somebody had control of your checkbook and could just write checks? Would that hurt you? I suspect it would. So Cecil Rhodes is coming up from South Africa, meeting with Lord Rothschilds to talk about his plan. Nathaniel Rothschilds, together with Lord Esher and some other very senior members of the British establishment, were present. Now remember, at this time, Germany, Austria, and all those countries around Turkey, Romania, and Belgium, Serbia, they were prospering and growing, becoming an economic powerhouse in their own, and had influence in the Middle East. So, of course, they had to be destroyed. And Churchill, in the material I've gone over before this video, they spent a couple years antagonizing and provoking and trying to get World War I started so they could destroy Germany and the Balkans. And World War II, they wound up giving all those countries to Russia, putting up an iron wall to communists, which were these Illuminati Zionist people vying to get the Middle East and Palestine to fulfill a biblical prophecy. I know I'm repeating this, but we need to remember it. What's the reason for this? Who are these evil people? Okay, Esther noted at the time that Rhodes is a splendid enthusiast. So Cecil Rhodes went down to South Africa and took control of, or controlled the gold mines and diamond mines and all of that, and created a vast fortune. A lot of people died. They put a lot of the farmers and citizens in prisons, and a lot of men and women and children, 30, 40,000, were all starved to death. It's in this material. All right. So Rhodes is a splendid enthusiast, killing all those people, taking over the land for the gold that they discovered, diamond mines. But he looks upon men as machines. So Cecil Rhodes thinks of humans as machines. I suspect these elites think of the rest of us as machines. That's why they're microchipping people and putting up surveillance systems and weaponized microwave towers and dumping chemicals from the sky and all kinds of fake news and all this other crazy stuff, terror events, sustainability, propaganda, social conditioning, pansexuality, climate change, global warming, and so much more. Controlling the media, the education system, the medical establishment, industries, having the big shopping marts and mega malls, and putting the little guy out of business. It's all a plan. And sooner or later, they're going to take it to the next level, like another 911. And there's even threats right now of collapsing the stock market. If it collapses, it isn't because people like me or you and everybody else got up one morning and decided to sell our stocks. It's all those power brokers who got a phone call and were told to do it, to crash it. That's how it works. And then when everybody panics and sells, they sold out early, so they sold out and got the big money. Later on, they take that big money and buy everything back up and make a vast fortune again. They do this over and over and over and over and over. So Cecil Rhodes had some vast ideas, and he's meeting with the Rothschilds. 1890, coming up from South Africa. Gold mines and diamond mines and so much more. I suspect quite unscrupulous as a means he employs, and he treats men like they're machines, and I know the people working in the gold mines and diamond mines in South Africa are treated like slaves. Did you know that? In truth, these were exactly the qualities needed to be an empire builder, unscrupulous, uncaring, with vast ambition. Do we need to say that louder and slower? The qualifications needed to be an empire builder: unscrupulous, uncaring, and vast ambition. These people control our system right now. They brought us Jade Helm 15 in 2015. Martial law exercises, going door to door, searching for guns, using events like the Boston bombing and Sandy Hook shooting and the movie theater shooting, and creating legislation and all this other stuff so they could get stuff done like 911, invade the Middle East, destroy all those countries. It's all planned. It's in this book and many other books I've gone over. You can get this book. I purchased it. Big, thick book. Cecil Rhodes had long talked about setting up a Jesuit-like secret society. So a lot of people get confused on these things. They go, hey, Rick, is it the Jesuits? Is it the Vatican? Is it the Jews? Is it the Freemasons? Is it the Illuminati? Is it the royal elite? Etc., etc., etc. And I'll say, yes. They're all connected. There are many, many, many tentacles out there. They got posters up with all the tentacles. Throughout history, the last 100 years, a lot of people know about this stuff. It's not a secret to a lot of people, but people, I guess we citizens, maybe we're not that intelligent. We can't see what we see. We can't hear what we hear. We can't think, apparently. So they wanted to create a Jesuit-like secret organization, which happened 100 years earlier, pledged to take any action necessary to protect and promote the extension of the power of the British Empire. And remember, Queen Victoria was in bed with the Rothschilds. They took over the British banking system. They needed the money. So, of course, they were going to do what the Rothschilds wanted, or they would be bankrupt, evicted from the castle. They did this with all the countries, even America, causing great depressions during World War I and World War II to get all the leaders of the world's attention. The people didn't know a thing. Everybody starved and suffered. You've seen all the pictures. He sought to bring the whole uncivilized world under British rule for the recovery of the United States. So they needed to recover the United States. Hence 1913, taking control of the money supply during Christmas vacation when all the politicians and people were on vacation. December 21st, a winter solstice, a witchcraft holiday, a cult holiday, Kabbalah holiday, alchemy holiday, however you want to look at it. Mystery religion of Babylon. Winter solstice. And for making the Anglo-Saxon race but one empire. In essence, the plan was as simple as that. Just as the Jesuit order had been formed to protect the Pope and expand the Catholic Church, answerable only to its own superior general and nominally the Pope. So apparently even the Vatican back then, when they created the Jesuits, probably had financial problems, and they called, I guess it was Ignatius Loyola, to see the Vatican, to see the Pope. Because in Spain, they told the Jews you had to leave Spain, they were banished, or convert to Christianity. So a lot of Jews who had holdings and power decided to convert, but in name only. That was called Marranos or Conversos. And a lot of them were discovered, and one of them was Ignatius Loyola. And he was brought before the Pope and had a private meeting. And when he came out, he was in charge of the Jesuits, a Marrano, a Converso, a converted Jew. And they became the assassin arm, the military arm, the enforcers of the Catholic Church, and apparently probably the bankers. So the secret society was to protect and expand the British Empire and to remain answerable to its leader. The Holy Grail was control not of God's kingdom on earth in the name of the Almighty, but of the known world in the name of the mighty British Empire, who were in bed with the Rothschilds, and they needed the Middle East and Palestine to create the state of Israel, part of biblical prophecy. Apparently, there'll be an antichrist that'll head up this world order that's talked about in this book, which is also talked about in the Bible. Both of these societies sought a different kind of world domination, but shared a similar sense of ruthless purpose. So you can see clearly here that it says that the Jesuits, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the royal elite, the banksters, they all had a plan for a global world order in 1890, 1891, and before, 1776. The Rothschilds instructed Adam Wusthof to create the Illuminati and take over the Masonic lodges all over the world. All right, back to the book. In 1891, by February, the time had come to move from idea to action. So let's get it off the drawing board and pull out the swords. And the formation of the secret society was agreed. It held secret meetings, but had no need for secret robes, secret handshakes, or secret passwords, since the members each knew each other intimately. Each of these initial three architects brought different qualities and connection to the society. Rhodes was a prime minister in Cape Colony, South Africa, and master and commander of a vast area of southern Africa that some were already beginning to call Rhodesia, after Cecil Rhodes. He was held to be a statesman answerable to the British colonial office in terms of his governance, but in reality was a land-grabbing opportunist whose fortune was based on the Kimberley diamond mines. So make no mistake about these people's intentions. They're not really trying to bring people freedoms and rights, and they don't support the gay agenda, rainbow coalition, and all that because they're trying to do something good. They're trying to agitate the Christians. They want to divide and have parties fighting each other. Even Rothschilds told that to, what was that movie producer in that famous video, America? I've showed that. But Rothschilds told, it'll come to me in a minute, that they were doing that to get women's rights so they could get women into the workforce, double the workforce and tax them, plus get the children into the schools so that they could take control of their minds. These people are insidious. Before I continue with the book, I'd like to look at another book. The Freemasonic Bible, Holy Bible, Freemason symbol. Pictures on the inside here. Clearly indicating that they are involved with the Middle East. It says on the bottom here, Israel encamped round about the tabernacle in the wilderness of Sinai. So the Balkans, all those countries under Germany, this side of Russia, and the other side of France and Britain and Italy, they all needed to be destroyed because they were close to Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, which controlled the Middle East. And these people had plans to rebuild King Solomon's temple. This is the Freemasonic Bible. The Ark of the Covenant. Notice those two columns around the Ark of the Covenant. That's just like the Freemasonic lodges. And the Freemasonic handbook has all of these Egyptian mystery religion of Babylon symbols. And even on the bottom there, the symbol liberty, equality, and fraternity, the Egyptian symbols, the naked woman in chains under this dude. And it's called the New Age magazine. This is the Supreme Council of the Freemasons, the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. And my camera stopped. I was watching some of those videos about the Masonic organizations and the Zionist Jewish people and the people who control our world today wanting to rebuild King Solomon's temple to fulfill a very ominous biblical prophecy. So I noticed something that I wanted to read from the Bible here. Jeremiah 9-11 says here in the Bible, "And I will make Jerusalem heaps and a den of dragons, and I will make the cities of Judah desolate, without an inhabitant. Who is the wise man that may understand this? And who is he to whom the mouth of the Lord hath spoken, that he may declare it? For what the land perished and is burned up like a wilderness, that none may pass through." So apparently Armageddon is supposed to have Israel destroyed. The land perished and is burned up like a wilderness, that none passage through. And the Lord saith, "Because they have forsaken my law, which I set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, neither walked therein, but have walked after the imagination of their own heart, and after Balaam, the devil, serpent, Satan, Lucifer, which their fathers taught them. Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will feed them ever this people with wormwood, and give them water, gall to drink." So that doesn't sound too good. Gall, water, and eat wormwood. "I will scatter them also among the heathen, whom neither they nor their fathers have known, and I will send the sword after them till they have consumed them." So there's more here just in the Bible. I just wanted to point out this stuff is in here. And then when you go over to Revelation 2.9 and 3.9, I highlighted it here. So it's clearly telling us in the Bible these things. "I know thy works, and tribulations, and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan." That's 2.9. And 3.9, there's another one. And there's more in the Bible on this topic. I just wanted to point it out. The Masonic Bible has the rebuildings directions for King Solomon's temple. They were taken over by the Illuminati, and apparently it's the Illuminati in bed with the royal elite, planning on taking over the world. They had wars in South Africa, in the Balkans, south of Germany, then of course in Germany, World War I, World War II. And in the Asia, Japan being nuked twice. One of those nuclear bombs dropped on a Christian city of civilians. It was all symbolic. And then, of course, Civil War in America and taking over the American money supply in 1913. Central America, South America, many people murdered. 40 million in 1900 in South America murdered. So Africa, South America, Asia, the northern part of Asia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, hundreds of years, and they have a plan, and it's in this book I'm reading. It's in the Bible. And it's in books like this. Who was behind 911? 911 synthetic terror. I made a video on this, series number 12. You can go watch it. Maybe a couple videos. I need to make another one. But it mentions Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agencies, and Israel involved in 911. And since then, of course, it's come out that it was an inside job, and Building 7 and probably the other towers were all rigged with demolition materials. And this is a dangerous thing to expose and talk about. A lot of people have died. Then, of course, you take the Fritz Springmeier's book, series number 9, I believe, in my series, and you just flip open this book, and it's easy enough to find the Rothschilds. And all the information and their mystery religion, like you can see on the cover. Fritz Springmeier was a pretty smart guy. So I've been studying this stuff since 2005. And then, of course, they were taking over the banking money supply in countries all over the world. Confessions of an Economic Hitman, series number 7, early in my video making career. John Perkins, the shocking inside story of how America really took over the world. And who controlled America? Who controlled Britain? Are you listening to me? Who controlled all these countries? And the countries that wouldn't submit or relent were destroyed and attacked, and their money systems were taken over. A lot of times, the citizens were murdered. Millions of them, even. Russia, what? 100 million, 66 million, 25 million admitted. Christians and other good people. So this is definitely has a religious component to it. This pursuit of a world global order. And now, of course, they have all these advanced technologies in place. So it promises to be a really bad day on the next event, whatever they do. It's in the Bible. It's in all these books. I've made hundreds and hundreds of videos. So here we go back to this book, moving on with this story. So Cecil Rhodes had the diamond mines and gold mines in South Africa, met with the Rothschilds. They were joking around and calling South Africa Rhodesia for Cecil Rhodes. Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar, so they have schools to recruit their people to rule our world. Even organizations like the Skull and Bones at a particular university. And of course, all the Masonic lodges in all of our cities, recruiting young men, looking for the selected few who will join the Luciferic and Satanic forces. And then controlling all the other peoples through organizations, White Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, women's marches, gay pride parades. Everybody thinks they're making their own decisions and fighting for their own rights when you got these people mind controlling everything with social conditioning. And that's a lot to say. I appreciate people who watch my videos and leave comments below and give me a thumbs up. I haven't made any money from doing this so far yet. I think one person donated $11.11. So his wealth had been underwritten by brutal native suppression and the global mining interest of the House of Rothschilds, to whom he was also answerable. So there you go, again and again I wrote on the pages here. And of course we had the Russian Revolution, Britain Revolution, French Revolution, Chinese Revolution, and so many others that these people organized, having the citizens murder each other, and the people are none the wiser, and they'll probably do it again for the worldwide revolution, World War III maybe. Makes you wonder when people will wake up. Rhodes had spent time at Oxford University in the 1870s and was inspired by the philosophy of John Ruskin, the recently installed professor of fine art. Ruskin appeared to champion all that was finest in the public service ethic, in the traditions of education, decencies, duty, and self-discipline, which he believed should be spread to the masses across the English-speaking world. But behind such a well-serving words lay a philosophy that strongly opposed the emancipation of women, had no time for democracy, and supported the just war. He advocated that the control of the state should be restricted to a small ruling class, fascist dictators. Social order was to be built upon the authority of the superiors, imposing upon inferiors an absolute and unquestioning obediency. Hello, AI. Facial recognition, microchipping all of us, knowing everything we do, tagging us with metadata, being able to zap maybe with microwaves those who resist or who don't want to go along, and passing Noahide laws which say they're going to behead the people who commit the crime of heresy, believing in a false Messiah. You can't make this stuff up, but you can look it up. He was repelled by what he regarded as a logical conclusion of liberalism. So these people actually hate liberalism. They have this whole idea of a world like the Hunger Games movie. But like the USA Georgia Guidestones, please go look them up if you're not familiar with them. Apparently they want a worldwide population of 500 million. And so we now have, what, 6 billion? So 5 or 6 billion people need to be eliminated. I suppose you could microwave them all, cook them all like bugs. Is that why they're installing all those microwave towers everywhere? And dumping all those flammable, toxic, heavy metals from the sky? They could put anything they want to in the water supply everywhere, and the foods, the kids' cereals. They're already giving toxic vaccines to children, providing us with Monsanto foods. I suppose they're probably trying to see if they can just do it through a slow, unsuspecting death, with all the cell phone transmitters out there slowly killing us. And the kids in school sterilizing the boys and the girls. Eugenics. So he was repelled at liberalism, the leveling of distinction between the class and class. So they don't want a leveling of classes. Make no mistake about that. They're going to be the elite few and the slave masses, probably all under some kind of feudal system. That means communities have to fight other communities. Or if you want to eat and drink, you'll have to produce the manufacturing and farming goods at a lower cost than the other community, or you won't get the work. No matter how hard you work, they're the ones who are going to choose how much they pay you. They're going to have like a worldwide austerity program. Everybody's going to get just a small cupful of rice and a little bit of water every day. Because of sustainability and climate change, everybody's going to have to give a little bit. You humans are all going to have to be slaves, and we elites will live in opulence. Just like the Hunger Games movie and all the other movies. Or maybe the people who revolt, they'll have something like Mad Max for a while. So they don't like leveling the distinctions between class and class, man and man, and the distinction of the rightful authority of the ruling class. As they sat listening to him, these future members of the secret society, Isha and Rhodes, must have thought they were being gifted a philosophical license to take over the world. So the professors were teaching this philosophy, Plato's philosophy, I get it, where there is a staged level of classes. The ruling elite, and then the level below them, all the guys with machine guns to police the rest of us at the bottom. Son of a gun. You ain't seen nothing yet, maybe. Cecil Rhodes drank from this fountain of dutiful influence and translated it into his dream to bring the whole uncivilized world under British rule. And remember, the Brits were in bed with the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds was part of the Illuminati, bringing us this false religion, creating the newly created country of Israel, which pretty much now controls and owns most of the world's resources. I guess you knew that. Rhodes entered South African politics to further his own personal ambitions, allied, of course, to the interest of the highly profitable mining industry. Although he paid reverent service to Ruskin's philosophy, his actions betrayed a more practical, ruthless spirit. Of course, they're deceiving us. They don't have a benevolent intention for mankind with this global world order. That's not why they're putting up facial recognition systems and microchipping us and controlling the money systems and microchips in your debit and credit card and working towards a cashless society. Get with the program, the sustainability, climate change. Everybody's going to have to suffer together for a whole false thing that's really not real. They're controlling the weather. They're creating the storms and the fires and all this other chaos. If you don't believe me, just go watch Deborah Travers, Dane Wigington, David Icke, Richie from Boston, Lisa Haven, and so many others. Plenty of information out there. This is series 244, 244 authors. This is going on my 6th year of making videos, 14th year of doing research. I started in 2005. For $11.11. I do have a small business. That's how I provide a living for myself. A business consultant. Used to work at the Space Center. I have an electronic technology degree. I'm thinking about buying a microwave spectrum analyzer detector and advertising that I'll come check out people's houses for microwave transmissions in their house, which is killing them. But the meters are a couple grand. So if anybody wants to donate to the cause, send me an email at rickmiracle@yahoo.com. Send me a meter. A nice way we could all make a few bucks by going there and checking people's houses out and putting up shielding systems. So if you do have wireless in your house, call your cable or internet provider and tell them you want modems that plug in direct. You do not want wireless energies in your house. And that's not all. Remember, your neighbors might have wireless, and if you're living in a congested area, you are really being bombarded. So there's different ways to shield your living facilities. I think metallized paints or screening, but you need to find somebody with a meter to come in there and show you where the dangerous areas are and look at your lifestyle. Put your cell phone in the microwave and close it. Don't turn it on, and have somebody else call your cell phone. If it rings while it's in the closed microwave, don't turn your microwave on. Your microwave is leaking. Get a new microwave. If you must use a microwave, I threw mine away. Anyways, we are living in a very precarious world right now, and we need to be thinking. Back to the book. His approach to native affairs was brutal. Cecil Rhodes. In 1890, he instructed the House of Assembly in Cape Town that the native is to be treated as a child and denied the franchise. So we, the people, need to wake up. This is what they think of us. We needed to be treated like children and deny the franchise. We do not, we are, I guess in this future, they're planning for the global world order. We are not entitled to wealth or freedom or rights. We're to be treated like machines and animals, like they think we are, and like they say they think we are. I have all that information. I've shared it in previous videos, and I'll be sharing it in future videos again and again. But I made a note here, back while they're having these meetings in 1890. Meanwhile, activity is going on in Russia and the world, Middle East, USA, etc. So this is just one place at one time, but at this particular time, they were forming a revolution in Russia. They had just finished with the war between the North and the South in the United States in the 1860s. They had the Boer War in South Africa. They had problems going on in the Balkans and Turkey and India, and had troops over there, and China and Japan wanted to organize the local Asian countries for a prosperity center. Germany wanted to organize the areas in the Balkans for a prosperity center. What's wrong with that? But they had to be demonized and destroyed and nuked. So what will they do to bring us this global world order? Will they nuke us? I suspect something powerful will happen and martial law will be declared, and all those warnings we're seeing on videos right now by a lot of these popular video makers, which I'm not so sure I trust, telling everybody to stay home and trust the police. And meanwhile, they might be just rounding up all those Christians to behead them. We're all probably cataloged by now. They've collected so much information. So who's the red dot, who's the yellow dot, and who's the green dot? Red dot, you're dead. Yellow dot, you're probably incarcerated to be retrained or sent to some kind of work farm or industrial prison. And green, you've joined the Luciferic forces. Jump into a gigantic statewide sexual orgy and debauchery. Crazy? So it seems. It says here in this book, we must adopt a system of despotism, rule with absolute power. I looked that word up. Such as works so well in India. So they were working a system of despotism in India, it says here, rule with absolute power in our relations with the barbarians of South Africa. And this is their technique. They don't politely get on the radio and tell everybody, well, we're going to have some changes and we want everybody to behave. No, they show a sign of force. They come in a very horrific, barbaric way initially and slaughter tons of people to strike the fear in the rest of the people. That's how they do it. Make no mistake about it. It says it right here. It says it in so much other material. Even Genghis Khan, the Mongolia area, when he ravaged Asia, China, and Western Europe, he slaughtered everybody viciously. He wanted everybody to be in stark terror, fear. He said God told him to do that so he could punish all the people for their sins. Who the heck are these evil people talking to? Remember, the Bible and prophecy says there's going to be this Antichrist deity, and part of the passage in secret of Noahide laws in the United States not too long ago says it's punishable by beheading, and apparently they will declare that Christianity will be banned, and anybody who tries to believe in Jesus in private and will get caught with all their surveillance systems. Promises to be a pretty bizarre situation. Oh my. Or as some people would say, OMG. The sense of superiority that he absorbed in his time at Oxford was expressed in the plundering native reserves. So he's down there in South Africa making a fortune with plundering all the natives' reserves. And look at all the minerals that were in Afghanistan. There were reports on that in press releases. So come on, that's why they went in there in the Middle East and Afghanistan for the oil and the resources, and probably burning California, because remember, California was a huge gold rush state. And with all the people owning all their properties and city halls and land and parks, well, they couldn't get access to that gold, so they had to destroy everything. I suspect that's what's going on. They want the resources. So after they drive the people out and they bring us this global world order, they'll probably start mining that area again, and the people who are left alive after this revolution will probably be enslaved and will be the miners until they drop dead. Is that possible? Plausible? Probable? Possible? The 3 P's. I know, you have to have some kind of sense of humor. This stuff is just too much. The sense of superiority that he absorbed in his time in Oxford was expressed in the plundering native reserves, clearing vast acres of ancestral tribal lands to suit gold and diamond exploration. So I'm not just making this stuff up out of my hat. They did it there in the farming lands and the properties in South Africa. They clearing vast acres. They burnt everything. So I just suspected when I was reading this and knowing that California has huge mineral resources and was the gold rush state, and now they have all these technological satellites and systems, they know where these gold reserves are. And so how do you get rid of a town? Maybe one called Paradise. Maybe there's a bunch of gold under there. Just saying. Possible? Probable? Plausible? All right, suit gold and diamond exploration, manipulating politics and business to benefit of himself and his backers. So does anybody think anything's changed now? It looks like it's worse. Look at 9/11 and all the destruction in the Middle East. And remember the discussion about the Balkans. That's why they started World War I. They said Germany was trying to take those territories. They all wanted to join Germany. And then they gave all those Balkan countries to Russia and became communist with the Iron Curtain. And those people suffered for almost 45 years in horrific situations. These people have an intention, have a plan. We better not mistake this. We better wake up and see it. Naivety will not help us. Though he associated all his life with men whose sole motive was avarice, so I had to look that up, greed, lust, and pride. That's what these people are after. Pedophilia, Pizzagate, child trafficking, human trafficking, sacrificing human, this satanic synagogue of Satan religion. And apparently, according to many videos I've been watching, sacrificing humans is a big thing happening quite a bit all over the world right now. The fastest growing church is a synagogue of Satan. You can't make this stuff up, but you can look it up. Write down the keywords when I say these things. Don't believe me. So their motive was avarice, greed, lust, and pride. You got 2 famous authors, Gerry Docherty, Jim Macgregor, Hidden History, The Secret Origins of World War I, of the First World War. All right, before he died of heart failure at the age of 48, and well aware that his lifespan would be limited, Rhodes wrote several wills and added a number of codicils. So he wanted his plan to continue. And Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. It says it here in this book. So a lot of our politicians, and Bill Clinton, I don't believe that was his real name. He was adopted. And Newt Gingrich was adopted. He was actually I said the name. Hate it when I forget something. By 1902, the name trustees of his will included, so Cecil Rhodes, who had the diamond and gold mines in South Africa and mass murdered tons of people and treated them like machines and slaves, had a trustee for his estate was Lord Nathaniel Rothschild, according to this book. Lord Rosebery, Earl Grey. I got an Earl Grey tea. Albert Britt, Leander Starr Jameson, Alfred Milner, all of whom, as we shall see, operated at the heart of the secret society. The New Age magazine, Freemasons. Doesn't take a whole lot of thinking to put this together, does it? It says Scottish Rite of Freemasonry on this magazine. You can see the symbols. It says liberty, equality, and fraternity, the thing they're promoting, on this magazine, New Age Freemasons Illuminati. What does it take for people to recognize a deception? Rhodes believed that insular England was quite insufficient to maintain, or even to protect itself, without the assistance of the Anglo-Saxon people beyond the seas of Europe. So they needed to control North America, South America, and Central America. And guess what? They do. I've showed you the books. They bankrupt all those countries. It's in this book. Assassinated several presidents. It's in this book. Go watch my video. John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. If a president or a king didn't go along, he could expect to get along and be dead. Implicit in his grand plan was a determination to make Oxford University an educational center of the English-speaking world and provide top scholars, in particular, from every state in America. So every state in America has some of the members from these organizations. And of course, they have a lot of Masonic lodges and other organizations like the Rosicrucians, Council of Foreign Relation, Bilderberger groups, Bohemian Grove, etc., etc. So they are working with the elite in this United States of America, sending some of them, like Bill Clinton, to this school over there, Oxford University, to be a Rhodes Scholar, everything paid for. And then you work for them, and if you are the right type of person, apparently Bill Clinton was, you become the president. Just like Barack Obama, George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., President Donald Trump, who apparently is completely associated with these people. His daughter's married to a well-known, popular Jewish man, wealthy. The son married a Jewish woman. Like, apparently, according to my research, they converted to Judaism. President Donald Trump made a declaration that the United States recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. President Donald Trump launched the mother of all bombs at Afghanistan. 89 missiles in Syria. So it's just going on and on and on. They even have a coin with President Donald Trump's head on it. And right above that, it says the Balfour Declaration, the agreement they made in World War I to give the Jewish people, the Palestinians, land to create the state of Israel. Because Britain was losing the war and Germany was winning. And of course, they controlled the United States by taking over the money supply 6 months earlier in December 21st, 1913, a winter solstice, witchcraft holiday, started World War I 6 months later, eventually dragged the USA into the war. Deceived we the people. That should irritate people in America to know we've been tricked into World War I and World War II. And we'll probably be tricked into World War III if nobody wants to wake up. Go look this up in your neighborhood. See if it doesn't annoy you a little bit. AntennaSearch.com. See how many cell phone towers are all around you. Never mind all your neighbors with the wireless systems and your smart meters on your house that have been exploding. Look up the videos on YouTube. Directed energy beams coming from the sky, zapping things. I'd say we're in trouble. I guess there's only one person or entity to turn to, and that would be God. We need to pray. God help us all. And remember, fear is not an option. It even says that in the Bible. All they can do is kill us. But if we volunteer and join their murderous hordes and all of that, we're joining the satanic forces of the underworld. Remember all those pointy obelisks in our city squares, those stone things? Those represent Osiris, the god of the underworld. And then, of course, his son, Horus, is represented by the all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill. And their evil religion worships an owl named Moloch, and on the front of the dollar bill is a little tiny owl perched on one of the ones. Bohemian Grove, they got a giant owl. They throw a baby at the base of it into a big fire called the cremation of care. Sandy Hook shooting, one of those journalists held up a picture of an owl. The street design plan of Washington, D.C. is a big owl. Even on the lamppost with directional signs, they have a picture of an owl with the streets. I thought of something else crazy. Canada, is that the Commonwealth of Columbia? I was hearing that on a video. I gotta look into that for sure. Commonwealth of Columbia. Isn't Washington, D.C. the District of Columbia? And I think the Statue of Liberty is supposed to be some kind of a woman called Columbia. And apparently those symbols are over there at the Vatican and a lot of other places all over the world with the dome. Part of this mystery Babylon, whore of Babylon religion. Crazy, you think? But all you can do is look into this stuff. Don't freak out. Don't live in fear. If you think it's true and you read some books and you see some videos, don't be afraid to click the link and send it to your friends and family and other people. And I know people will think that you're crazy. But who do you really want to answer to? Your friends or to your spiritual self when you leave this planet? Apparently, way back then in the Bible, Jesus was taken to a mountaintop by Satan. And he stretched out his arms and he said, all of this will be yours. I'll give it to you if you'll bend your knee to me. And Jesus said, I don't want or need any of this. In my Father's house there are many mansions in the spiritual realm of heaven. Then you have the underworld. So I guess we all can look forward to going to one place or the other. The heavenly world or the underworld? The obelisk, Lucifer, Satan, Horus, Moloch, or Jesus and God? And I'm not opposed to the Islamic religion. They have their beliefs. That's not my education, or the Buddhists or the Hindus. But I suspect they teach about right and wrong also. So people need to look at their religions and pay attention to what the prophets and the entities from the other world came to teach them. Seems reasonable and plausible to me. So I'm not anti-anybody. You know, you talk about people in Peru taking ayahuasca, shamans, Indians, Mexicans. This is an ancient religion. They were all communicating with the spiritual world. But in the spiritual world, there are demonic entities also. So maybe that's part of being in this physical reality, is being exposed to the two choices. Love or hate. the Ten Commandments, and all the religions have a variation of the Ten Commandments, or disagreeing, because really what happens is where you go after you leave this planet. So like I said, fear is not really an option or a choice or a necessity. Whenever what happens, certainly don't go screaming in the streets or get your shotgun to protect your cupboard full of 3 cans of tomato soup or something. It doesn't matter. What matters is our faith and our belief and our actions. And I'm not trying to be a preacher. I learned this through my research. So I'm not coming at it from a point of view of religion. I'm coming at it from a point of view of what I see being erected in my town. And the AI and the stuff on the news and the slaughter of people in the Middle East and common sense and 911 and so much more. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes or a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. Common sense. So anyways, I think with that little rant, I'll end this video. And thank you for watching, and leave a comment, a thumbs up. I appreciate you watching. Rick Miracle reporting.